A mixed bag of cards today. Some good ones, some bad ones, and some meh ones? Okay, so the first card we have for today is another dual class card. Gotta love some dual class cards, guys. This time it is Warlock and Demon Hunter coming together to create Philosophy. Very nice wordplay there. A 1-mana spell that says copy the lowest cost demon in your hand and outcast, give both of them +1/+1. So this is a very interesting card. From the offset, it will allow you to copy low cost demons. So the fact that it's low cost indicates that this card is going to be, only useful in an aggressive deck, right? Because you're not going to be able to copy like big demons in the late game. You're going to mostly hit Battle Fiends. You're going to mostly hit Flame Imps on Warlock side. Maybe sometimes Satyr Overseer, etc., etc. So this card really wants to be played in an aggressive deck. And what are the two aggressive decks for Warlock and Demon Hunter? Well, obviously, let's look at Warlock first. We have Zoo. Zoo right now is not a very good deck, but however, we have already seen a lot of interesting Zoo cards that have been printed, such as the Egg, the Spider Egg thingy bob, the Legendary, the dual class Priest Warlock Legendary. If you guys haven't seen those cards, check out my previous card reviews for all of my insights on those. And I feel like Zoo might be making a comeback in this expansion, and this card is pretty decent for Warlock Zoo. Getting additional Flame Imp and giving it +1/+1, fantastic, right? Getting maybe some other demons that's, maybe like a Scrap Imp, for example, making it a 4/4 and getting another Scrap Imp, the key piece of Warlock Zoo at the moment. If it still stays that way, getting an additional one in hand is absolutely great, right? I think this card is very versatile. Do you need the outcast though? And I feel like sometimes you maybe don't, right? Maybe sometimes just enough, let's go back to the Scrap Imp example, is maybe just enough to copy the demon. Right, having additional Scrap Imp is so powerful. Do you really care about the additional 1/1? I mean, obviously it's great, but you don't really mind that much. I feel like the outcast here is not essential for Warlock. Now let's look at Demon Hunter, right? Demon Hunter now, obviously we have Tempo Demon Hunter, it's the best Demon Hunter deck. Can it fit a card like this, right? It's 1 mana, you have to spend 1 mana. And with that 1 mana, you could be using the hero power, you could be squeezing another 1-drop, you could be playing like Beaming Sidekick, etc., or Guardian Orc Merchant, or something like that. But instead, you have to play Philosophy, and is it worth it? I feel like it's only worth it if you do get the outcast in Demon Hunter's case, because getting, a 2/3 Battle Fiend is insane. And it's pretty easy to outcast this as a Demon Hunter, I feel like. Obviously, they already have so many other outcast cards, and all their cards are pretty, very cyclable and very cheap. So it is pretty efficient to get this into the outcast position. I think it's pretty decent. Does it fit into the deck right now, though? Does it fit into those 30 cards at the moment? I'm not sure. Maybe it does, guys. Maybe it does. Obviously, with the recent nerfs, the deck has gone through a change already. So maybe it can fit a card like this that just gives you a little bit more tempo. Maybe you play Battle Fiend on 1. Maybe on turn 2 you have another Battle Fiend. You play this along with the other Battle Fiend. You get a 2/1 Battle Fiend and a 2/3. And then another one you can play the following turn. I think that's pretty strong. So because it's so strong for both, Warlock and Demon Hunter, I'm actually going to give this a very, very high score, guys. I'm actually going to give this a 8 out of 10, okay? And you might think that's crazy, but honestly, I think this will fit into Demon Hunter. And it will also fit into Zoo for sure. And I think Demon Hunter will be tier 1. It will stay tier 1. It's still Demon Hunter. And Zoo, I feel like maybe a strong tier 2. So because of that, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10, guys. Okay, so the next card we have is for Warrior. A 3-mana 4/3 epic card that reads, after you play a rush minion, summon a copy with 1 health remaining. This is a very cool card, guys. Firstly, just decent stat line. 3-mana 4/3 is very vanilla stats, but it's not bad. You don't mind playing this on turn 3, and especially because you can actually combo this. You can play this into potential rush minions on turn 4. Think about Restless Mummy. Would you like to get another Restless Mummy that has 1 health and has the reborn effect? Yes, 100%. Would you like to get maybe an additional Kargath Blade Fist to shuffle into your deck, right? Fantastic. This curves perfectly into turn 4 rush minions. And even if you don't play it on curve, you can play it later on for a combo, right? Let's say you play that exact same combo on 7 mana, right? 3-mana Playmaker, Restless Mummy on, with 4 mana, or Kargath Blade Fist. I think that's pretty solid. The issue I do have with this card is, yeah, it's 7 mana. That's pretty expensive, right? This is a 3-mana card, and it's competing with Bloodsworn Mercenary in that position. Is this better than Bloodsworn Mercenary? Obviously, Bloodsworn Mercenary is more, it's a battle cry, so it's more like initial. It can be used on any minion. This can only be used on a rush minion. However, Bloodsworn Mercenary, you have to have the minion damaged to be able to copy it. Whereas this is like the reverse, right? This will damage the minion for you if you need to play this first, and then you play a minion afterwards. it has to be rush, of course, so it's a bit restricted in that sense. But if it is a rush minion, it will copy that minion, right? And potentially give you a lot of value. I see this deck being used in a bit of maybe a control warrior package, right? Let's look at control warrior as we see it today, right? With bombs. Will this see play? Maybe this will replace the Bloodsport Mercenary. Possibly. There are a lot of rush minions, right? Think about Bloodborne Brute as well. Think about maybe Evasive Worm. There's a lot of rush minions that may benefit from this card. And I do see this seeing play in a control warrior. I don't really see it seeing play in an aggro tempo warrior, because in that deck you mostly want to be copying Kor'kron Elite / Grommash, and obviously you can't do that with this card, so I think Bloodsport Mercenary is just better. I don't see you playing both of those cards. I don't see you playing Playmaker and Bloodsport Mercenary. It's kind of one or the other. And I do see this maybe seeing play in control warrior though. I feel like it might be slightly better than Bloodsport Mercenary because it has better stats, and also it's a bit more easy to activate. All you need is a rush minion, and you can definitely build in that control warrior with, Restless Mummy, with Kargath Blade. So for that, I think maybe control warrior will be a low tier 2, possibly. So I'm actually going to give this a 6 out of 10. I know I just showed 5, but a 6 out of 10, guys, because I think it's a really interesting card. It's got a decent stat line. It's not bad, right? Maybe it just plays on 3 sometimes, and you're okay with it. It puts a little bit of pressure on the opponent. Maybe it can defend for you a little bit as well to get some tempo on board. And when you do get those really cool combo turns with rush minions, it can be pretty decent for a control warrior. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. I don't think it's better than Bloodsport Mercenary, but I think it can be in certain situations. Next up, we have a really, really big Warlock legendary, guys. 9 mana Archwitch Willow. 9 mana 7/7 Battlecry. Summon a random demon from your hand and deck. So, okay, firstly, if you guys play Wild, Q-Block is absolutely screaming right now because it's fantastic for that deck. There are so many big demons, obviously, and being able to recruit them and also get them out of your hand for basically free with the Battlecry is insane. However, we're talking about Standard, and in Standard, there aren't that many big demons. There is the Dreadlord dude, the 8 mana 5/7 that summons a Lifesteal on its Death Rattle, and that's pretty much it. There's not really another big demon. There's no Voidlord, no Mal'Ganis, so this definitely is much more limited in Standard. Also, it is 9 mana, so that's pretty expensive. You kind of have to wait a long time to be able to get that massive tempo swing. And even if you do get 2 enhanced Dreadlords out of your, out of this, right, you're playing a 9 mana 7/7 and 2 Dreadlords. Obviously, that's game breaking. Obviously, that's fantastic, but it's 9 mana. You have to wait so long. Maybe you'll just be dead by then, right? And maybe Quest Warlock is just better, right? The deck that I'm talking about is a completely new archetype. It has to be some sort of control warrior. Control Warlock. I was still thinking about the last card that I was talking about. Has to be some sort of control Warlock. And isn't a Quest Malagos Warlock just better in any way? Like, why would you run, kind of like a Handlock? Maybe you run Dark Portal. And with a bunch of big demons, so obviously this card is the payoff. If you do hit this card on turn 9, it can win you games. It is very, very strong in that sense, for sure. But I don't know. I just feel like it's a bit slower, and it's so limited. Like, what other demons? What if you, draw both of your Dreadlords and you're only getting 1, right? What are the other demons that you can summon with this card? Obviously, there are a bunch of Warlock cards that haven't been released yet for the next expansion. Maybe there'll be another big demon. And if there is, I feel like this card might get, exponentially better. But for now, I just don't really see this seeing a place in the meta right now. I think Quest Warlock is better. Obviously, it doesn't see play in Zoo because you don't want to be summoning, little flame nymphs and stuff. So Zoo doesn't want to see this card. Those are just the 2 Warlock decks that I see happening. I mean, maybe some sort of control Dark Portal Warlock can exist with this card. But then it kind of runs into issues too. Like, you have Kandrastat Prime in that deck, right? Kandrastat Prime is a minion that you don't want to get out of your deck. You want to use it for the Battlecry, but if you play Archwitch Willow, it would actually have counter synergy with that, anti-synergy with the Kandrastat Prime. So then you're like, okay, well, I have to choose which one to play. I don't know which one's better because Kandrastat Prime you have to shuffle in. It's like a delayed effect. This is instant, but then it means you can't play Kandrastat. It's just very awkward, guys. So unless they release some other big demons, honestly, I don't see this card seeing any play. But I think there is a potential that they will release some more demons. So because of that, I'm actually going to give this a 4 out of 10. I was going to give it a 3, but I think this obviously will see experimentation. It is a big legendary. People, love big demons, right? I obviously also love big demons. I started with Q-Block in my Hearthstone career, so I will definitely be trying this card out for sure if I do pack it. But eventually, I think it's just going to fall short a little bit unless they release a bunch of big demons coming up. And watch now, they will in the next 2 weeks. They're just going to release all the big demons. But if they do, then yes, this rating will change. But for now, it is going to be a 4 out of 10. Okay, next up, we have another dual-class legendary for Rogue and Warrior, Dr. Krastinov. 5 mana 4/4 Rush Whenever this attacks, give your weapon +1/+1. So very similar, obviously, to Captain Greenskin, which is a 5-mana 5/4 battle cry. Give your weapon +1/+1. But I think this card is better than Greenskin, and this is why. It has Rush. Obviously, Rush is super impactful. This can be used in, now also control decks and aggro decks because of the Rush mechanic. You're able to take immediate impact onto the board, as well as give your weapon a +1/+1 to then trade again into something, or maybe hit face, depending on if you're playing an aggro deck or control deck. So the Rush is really, really impactful. Obviously, this does lose one stat line. It's not a 5/4, it's a 4/4. But I feel like that's still plentiful enough. Think about Darius Crowley, for example, from the Witchwood, I believe. That old card, which is a 5-mana 4/4 Rush as well, and that saw a little bit of play in control decks, and I think this will as well, especially in Warrior. I think Warrior can see this card. Let's look at Control Warrior nowadays, right? They have Wrench Caliber, they have Anchor. They'd love to buff that. They'd love to give the Wrench Caliber, a +1/+1, and potentially more +1/+1s in the future if your opponent doesn't kill this minion. So this kind of has pseudo taunt as well, because when you rushes into something and it survives, your opponent kind of has to kill it. Because it's not whenever this kills a minion, it's just whenever it attacks, period. So even if you have nothing onto the board, if this sticks for a turn, you're still going to get that +1/+1. So this is very strong, and your opponent just has to kill it. So I think it's better than Greenskin for that reason, because it can take a trade and also give you the +1/+1. Obviously, this is worse if there are no minions on the opponent's side of the board, right? Maybe sometimes you're ahead of the board. Greenskin can allow you to apply pressure, but this is not really a pressure minion, because like you play this, your weapon doesn't even get buffed because you can't actually attack with this minion immediately. That's kind of bad. So for that reason, I feel like it's definitely gonna be better in Warrior compared to Rogue. The Rogue decks that want to use weapons that, in my opinion, are going to be very aggressive, right? They obviously have that Steel Dancer that was released a couple of days ago that, summons a minion of cost equal to your weapon's attack. That could be used in Rogue, in my opinion, and that'd be a very aggressive tempo Rogue style with like Hook Scimitar and Waggle Pick or something like that. So this definitely will be used more in Warrior. It's more of a control tool. I think this fits into Control Warrior perfectly, and I think Control Warrior is a tier 2 card. I think this also has potential to fit into Rogue as well. Even in a tempo kind of aggro Rogue, maybe this is just good enough. Maybe in the mirror, it'll be really nice for you to rush down opponent minion and buff your own weapon to hit face. Maybe that's just pretty good. So for that, I'm going to give this a very high 7 out of 10. I think this will 100% see play in Control Warrior, which is already a tier 2 deck, and I think it will remain a tier 2 deck. And because it has the potential to see play in Rogue as well, I'm going to give this a high 7 out of 10. Very cool card, and very cool design as well, with the two knives, and he's just like rushing at you. Very crazy doctor over here. Okay guys, next up we have Penn Flinger, a neutral minion for Scholomance Academy. 1-mana 1/1, battle cry, deal 1 damage, and spell burst, return this to your hand. So very interesting use of the spell burst mechanic. Also just want to point out that this name I don't think is confirmed to be the correct name of this card. This was released in China, so they didn't get the translation right immediately. I'm not sure if this is the official translation, so it might be when this video is released a different name, or maybe it is just called the Penn Flinger. But for this video, we're going to be calling it the Penn Flinger, and I think Penn Flinger is, it's a better Elven Archer, right? So it's completely power spiked the Elven Archer for sure, right? It's better in every single way. 1-mana 1/1 neutral, deal 1 damage. It's a ping, okay. It has spell burst, so you can return to your hand. So you potentially can play this and then play a spell. It gets to your hand, you can play it again. You can get some sort of infinite combo and deal a bunch of one damage to a bunch of different things. But like, listen to what you're hearing, guys. That just doesn't seem that strong, right? Like, why would you do that? What deck kind of wants to use this card, right? If it's a deck that can run lackeys, you can get the Kobold Lackey, which is a 1-mana deal 2, which is just exponentially better than this card, right? If it's a control deck, like, there are other tools. You don't want to use 2 slots or 1 slot of your deck for this 1-mana 1/1. So I just think this is really unimpactful. Even an aggressive deck, like, there's just better options, right? I don't see any deck making use of this. I think this is absolutely terrible. And the combo potential of this deck, with the deal 1 damage, return to your hand, and technically you have constant 1 damage in hand that threatens to pop Divine Shields or to finish off minions, and okay, but it's just a bit too awkward. I think it's just way too awkward. You kind of have to play this and spell burst in the same turn, otherwise it's very easy for your opponent to kill, and it just hasn't really done anything. So if this was like maybe a 2/1, maybe if it was a 1/2, I would be saying something different, but because this is 1/1, it's just not impactful. It's really, really bad. It's a 1 out of 10. My first 1 out of 10, but yeah, this is just terrible, guys. I don't know what to say. Moving over to Reddit, we have 2 Demon Hunter cards that got revealed, the first of which is Mage Hunter. 3 mana 2/3 rush for Demon Hunter. And it has the text, whenever this attacks a minion, silence it. I think this card is bad. Okay, just gonna straight up and say it. Because it's a 3 mana silence, so it's basically like Iron Beak Owl. It's a little bit more stats than Iron Beak Owl, but Iron Beak Owl sees no play. Right? And yes, this has rush, so it can take a trade immediately, but there are so many better 3-drops for Demon Hunter right now. You have Satyr Overseer, which is always better. You have Frozen Shadow Weaver, which is, you know, a staple in Demon Hunter now. Like, why would you want to play this card, right? If you want to push past Taunt, just run Consume Magic. That's just a better card, right? You're going to maybe able to cycle a card. Even if you're not, it's 1 mana silence. This is 3 mana silence. And the stat line is not impressive enough for you to run this card. Yes, it has rush, right? And obviously, you can use this to get past Taunt sometimes. But if you really want to be getting past Taunts, you 100% should just run Consume Magic. Like, I don't see why you'd run this card at all. You know, in a control deck, Consume Magic. In an aggro deck, Consume Magic, right? This card is just completely, you know, dominated by Consume Magic. So because of that, I don't see this seeing play at all. Obviously, this does have some implications. Let's think about Edwin Van Cleef, for example. This completely wrecks it because you're about to attack into the Edwin Van Cleef, and no matter what stat line it is, it'll go to a 2/2, and then this will be able to take a value trade, and it's 3 mana, so it's the perfect counter for Edwin Van Cleef. Yeah, that makes sense. And obviously Consume Magic doesn't do that. Consume Magic will still leave the 2/2 on the board. So I guess in that instance it is better, but I think that's just so fringe and it's so niche that this card will struggle to see play. It's competing with a lot of 3 mana cards that are really, really strong in Demon Hunter. A lot of neutral 3 mana cards as well, like Frozen Shadow Weaver, like the Blowtorch Saboteur. So I just don't see this card seeing play. Again, Consume Magic is better. So for that reason, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10. People probably will experiment with this card a little bit, but then they'll probably realize that it's just way too slow. I'm a Demon Hunter. I want to go phase. Pow, pow, pow. Goodbye, Mage Hunter. Okay, we have a Demon Hunter Legendary now. Star Student Stellina. Okay, very cool. 4 mana, 4/3. Decent stats. Not too bad. Definitely a little bit understated, but it has Outcast. Look at the 3 cards in your opponent's hand. Shuffle one of them into their deck. Okay, so more of this kind of disruption tools. If you saw my card review yesterday, you would have seen the card Glide, which, by the way, guys, is having a lot of controversial opinions about it. A lot of people hate that card. A lot of people, you know, it obviously hasn't even come out yet, and people are so, you know, already sick of that card and already, you know, hating it and stuff because they don't like how it's card disruption and it's, you know, disrupting your opponent kind of thing. But I think actually I'm in the camp of that's the great feature to have in the game. I think that's a feature that Hearthstone can have and should have more of, right? You look at other games such as Magic, such as Legends of Runeterra, for example. They have a lot of ways to deal with, you know, to counter your opponent's plays and to counter your opponent's hands. And Hearthstone doesn't really have that until, you know, Glide was revealed yesterday, which is a massive counter. And this is a similarly, you know, slight counter to your opponent as well, because not only do you gain information if this is Outcast, you look at the 3 cards of your opponent's deck. So it's kind of like Madame Lazul, right? You're able to look at their hand and see what they have and then play around it. I think that's a fantastic effect. Lazul is one of my favorite cards in terms of design because of the fact that you can just gain so much information, and it really helps, you know, a more skilled player to make more intuitive decisions. And this card can offer the same utility. But also, you're able to choose one of those cards and shove them into their deck. So basically, you remove a card from their hand. Possibly it's a removal card, maybe it's like a very impactful card that they could play on curve next turn. You're just like, nope, get rid of that, put that back in the deck. I think that's really, really, really cool. It is disruption, yes, but I don't think it's game breaking. I think this is a really smart card, and honestly, I think it's a really cool card. Now, the question is, does it see play? Because it is 4 mana. That is pretty expensive, honestly, and it is a 4/3, which I did say was a decent stat line, but it's not that great, honestly. It's not too good of a stat line, and as Demon Hunter, obviously, you want to be applying as much pressure as possible if we're talking about aggressive Demon Hunter. So having this kind of a little bit of a weaker stat line is a bit of a detriment. It does have 4 attacks. It's a little bit top heavy, which is nice, so it can kind of be a bit more aggressive. And Demon Hunter kind of lacks 4 drops anyway. It really just only has Kane's Sun Fury. There's no really other good, you know, Demon Hunter 4 drops. So I actually think this will see play in aggro Demon Hunter. I think this will see play alongside Glide, as, you know, a bit of like a disruption Demon Hunter kind of deck. It will definitely be in more of an aggro style deck as well. I mean, you could also run this in a control Demon Hunter if you wanted to, I feel like, because you can get rid of a combo piece in their hand, or get rid of like a, you know, maybe like a Dynamite Brand, and they're about to go into turn 7. Well, nope, put that back into his deck, right? So I think all Demon Hunters kind of can run this. I think this is a really good, cool card, honestly. So yeah, I'm actually going to give this, you see, I want to give this an 8, right? Because I think Demon Hunter will be tier 1 for sure, just because it's Demon Hunter. But I'm not too convinced that every Demon Hunter deck will run this card. Oh, I don't know. It's a difficult one for sure. I'm gonna give this a 7. I'm gonna give this a 7, guys. Okay, because I don't want to get this card super wrong. It is a little bit weak stat line. You kind of have to get the outcast effect for it to be good. So I think that's why it's swaying me a little bit towards 7 rather than 8. If you play this without outcast, and sometimes your hand will be a little bit more clunky, especially if you keep adding more expensive cards into your deck. If you play this without outcast, it's absolutely terrible, right? It's a 4-mana 4/3. It's terrible. You have to play this outcast. So for that reason, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. I think it's really strong personally, but maybe the outcast mechanic will make it a little bit more awkward and will mean that people will cut this from their decks. Okay, so the last card of this video, guys, just got revealed by my boy Regis Kilburn. Love the guy. I think he's fantastic. Obviously, you guys all know him for sure. Okay, I literally just saw this card, right? So this is completely fresh reaction. This issue got revealed like 2 minutes ago. And it is Lorekeeper Polkelt, alright? 4 mana 4/5. Battle cry, reorder your deck from the highest cost card to the lowest cost card. What the absolute... This card is absolutely crazy. This card is actually crazy, guys. What does everyone think? Please leave your comments below. I need to know what you guys think because I am completely bewildered about what to say about this card. Honestly, I need a moment, alright? I need a moment. Firstly, I think this card is very unique and it's very cool. I love the design. I think the design is fantastic. And in terms of when this card can see play, I think it will definitely be used more so in control decks, in like kind of value decks and like Highlander decks and stuff like that, more so than in aggressive decks, right? Obviously, how you want to use this card is you want to use it in the late game. You don't really want to be playing this on turn 4 because if you play this on turn 4, it means your next turn you're going to draw like a 10 cost or an 8 cost, right? And that's obviously pretty bad. So yeah, don't really want to be up to turn 4. Like the stat line is actually pretty good for a 4 cost. It's decent stats, but you don't really want to be playing this on turn 4. I mean, maybe you can use this in Demon Hunter actually, because if you play this on turn 4 or turn 5, you can guarantee Skull of Gul'dan as the next draw and it'll be in the outcast position. So interesting, right? That's an interesting thought that I literally just had. But I think more often than not, this card will be used in control decks in the late game, as I was saying, because you want to play this card and then maybe you want to draw some cards, or then that means the next turn you're not going to draw dead, right? You're not going to draw your low cost cards that want to be used in the early game. You're going to be drawing your Malagos, your Kalagos, your Dracoon Extrazi, your Norval Extrazi, all of your expensive cards. Think about Highlander Mage. I think Highlander Mage would love this card. Think about Highlander Hunter as well to stay on curve in the late game. Right? Sometimes when you're playing Highlander Hunter, you run out of resources, and then you kind of just draw dead, right? Maybe you're like top decking and oh shit, you just drew like a Blazing Battle Mage or something and you lose the game because of that. But if you play this card, all of your deck is going to be ordered from highest to lowest, so it means that every turn from after you play this card, you're going to get a really, really good draw, guaranteed, right? All of your lowest cost cards will be at the bottom. Sometimes that can be a little bit awkward as well, because maybe something like Kill Command or a Corrosive Breath, or maybe something like a Blizzard that you need to clear the board is actually not going to come, right? You guaranteed not to draw that card because it's not the most expensive, so it can also be a little bit awkward, but I think mostly it's incredibly strong. It's a really, really strong late game card for those kind of control mid-range decks. Another implication for this card, because I think there are so many, this card is super cool. And I firstly just want to say, like, congratulations to Blizzard and props to them for all of these card designs in this expansion so far. I love the design. There's so many, like, disruption cards, so many cards that kind of, like, do things that are not just about tempo and kind of about, like, you have to think about a little bit more, like this card, and I think that's super cool. But if we think about something like a combo deck, right, think about Quest Warlock, for example, that obviously wants to draw Malagos, right? You can actually play this card after you complete the quest to guarantee Malagos or Alexstrasza to be at the top of your deck, right? And then you can tap the hero power and guarantee draw those cards for free. That's insane, right? Like, if let's say your Malagos stuck at the bottom of your hand, well, not anymore, because you have Lorekeeper Polkelt, which can rearrange your deck to guarantee the Malagos and Alexstrasza to be at the top. Then you can get them for free with the hero power. Obviously, that means all of your small spells, your Soulfires, your Rain of Fire, your Nether Breath will be at the bottom. So it's a little bit awkward for sure. Will be at the bottom, but you do guarantee that you get the 0 mana Malagos. Maybe you do have already some Soulfires in hand or stuff like that. So I think that'd be really strong. I think this actually fits into Quest Warlock already, and I do think it actually fits into like a lot of the Highland decks I was talking about before. So, oh man, that's a lot of tier 2 decks it's fitting in, guys. So I'm actually giving this an 8 out of 10. All right, I'm not gonna give it any higher because there is a chance this card will completely draw blanks and just be a complete meme. But I just think it's super. I think the power level is super. Even maybe in Demon Hunter, right? I'm calling that. Okay, like no one else has said it. It just came out. I'm calling this might see playing Demon Hunter just to ensure the Skull of Gul'dan as an outcast card. Because if you get it as outcast, then the next cards you're going to draw with Skull of Gul'dan are also going to be all the expensive cards, which is obviously what you want to get with the discount. So I'm actually calling this card is going to be a tier 1 card, guys. An 8 out of 10. What an insane card. I'm speechless. I'm honestly speechless. Let me know what you guys think, man. Holy shit. But that is going to be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed all the cards today. And we had a crazy, crazy legendary to finish it off. I don't even know what to say, guys. I don't even know what to say. Just end the video. End the video. See you guys in the next one. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Peace out, boys.